Alright, hi everybody. So, veteran Frostvault tanking. This is a fun dungeon to tank. It's one of my favorite dungeons in the game because it has shitloads of mechanics. I did this yesterday, and by that time I hadn't tanked Vet Frostvault in 2 or 3 months. So, this is not a perfect run. Also, we've had 2 people in the group, 1DD and the healer, who've never done this dungeon before. So it has a couple cuts in it because I was explaining mechanics for a while. There are loads of them. What you want to do is get all these ads together, and then especially on the Nightblade, use the aspect of terror morph to fear them in place. That's kind of your CC as a Nightblade. And don't forget to block a lot. The ads in this dungeon are really not a joke. That ogre that you see there on the right, the Cold Snap Ogre, can actually one-hit you. It'll, like, I've got I think like about 46k health, and if it hits me with the heavy attack, I'm dead right away. So you just want to group them up by hitting them with light attacks or getting them all in one general direction, and tell your group to stay behind you, not to run in front of you until you've grouped everything up. And then fear them in place with the aspect of terror morph, and put your elemental blockade down. In this ad pull, don't forget to chain the cold snap mages in, what they're called, the ones with the ice stuff. I've sped this up a little bit because it's always the same pretty much. There's another ogre. I just blocked the heavy attack. You could really see like my health going down even though I blocked halfway and had mirage on and all the damage mitigation. There's another ogre in this pull. Always turn them away from the group. It's really important. Fear them, put your blockade down. On my front bar, I'm usually running Bone Surge or Absorb Missile. And then for heals and mitigation, the Dark Cloak and Mirage. And then Heroic Slash and Pierce Armor for taunting and debuffing, as well as either Spell Wall or Bolstering Darkness as an alternate. Now this boss, it's really important the whole group stays close together, because if somebody goes too far away, the big boss will just jump on them. So if you're too far away from him, he'll jump on you. And then there's a lot of ads coming in, so make sure you're blocking all the attacks that the boss does, but also try and use the aspect of terror morph to fear the little ads that are coming in and grouping up. Makes it easier for your DPS. The ogre will jump on people at certain times, and that's when you have to interrupt him. You might see that sometime soon, hopefully. There, I'm putting the blockade down, fearing all the enemies. Oh yeah, there I interrupted him. It's hard to see. You might want to rewind this if you don't know the mechanics, because he'll jump on people and then he needs to be interrupted or else he'll kill them. And this is when I'm getting knocked up in the air, and none of my teammates managed to interrupt, which is why I'm dying here. There's nothing you can do about it. You can't survive it even as a tank. If nobody interrupts, you'll be dead. But thankfully the other guys managed to kill it anyway. There's someone else getting knocked up in the air, and then he needs to be interrupted, which is what they did there. Exactly. Bone Surge on the Nightblade tank is pretty much your oh shit button. Most of the time you don't even need it. The mitigation and self-heal from Dark Cloak and Mirage, as long as you keep those running. There's a passive in the Shadow tree saying that if you activate a Shadow ability, which Dark Cloak is, you gain Major Resolve, and your physical and spell resistances go up by 5k for 6 seconds. So as long as you keep your Mirage and your Dark Cloak running, you've got enough damage mitigation to just get away with blocking things then. Alright, this ad pool, there's one of these little, no, it's actually 3 of these little nasty mages that do these AoEs. So just try to group them up, use Silver Leash to pull them in. There's one thing here. if you notice my back bar, the thing I've got on the triangle is always my flex slot. I've either got Silver Leash on there, right, like now, or I've got Lotus Fan on there for the minor vulnerability on the target, or I've got Refreshing Path there for the major expedition to be faster and the heals. Other than that, I'm running the Blockade on the back bar, Leeching Strikes, and the Aspect of Terror CC Fear thing, and then the Far Taunt and Warhorn, meaning Inner Rage and Warhorn. Now with this boss, this is also a pretty rough fight. I had to explain the mechanics on the go as we did it. So I just told them to stack around the boss here, and then it's really important to, if you're tethered, that's that black line that you just saw between the people, you need to get away from each other or else you'll die, or one of you dies. As a tank, it's really good if you can pull the archers in here. That's why I had Silver Leash on, really, because the archers do a shitload of damage on the DPS and also yourself. So block the heavy attacks, try to interrupt him, and yeah, chain the archers in. It's really important. At a certain point then he'll jump in the air. I got tethered there, that's why I tried to get away. The other person died unfortunately because they didn't get away. If he does that with the flames, usually the best thing would be to stack around him so the healer can heal you all. You've got these little circles underneath you that should not overlap, but you can still, if everybody chooses one of the 4 sides, you can still stack around him. I'm going for the res here. Dark Cloak and Mirage give me enough mitigation to survive even while resing and getting attacked by that ad there. Unless it would be a heavy attack, obviously, then I would have had to roll dodge. So now we've got a couple archers up again. We're trying to get all the reses in here. Now you see I didn't block that heavy hit there. Trying to group up all the ads and get the archers in. I didn't have enough stamina there to use Silver Leash. Pop a potion. And then you can bash him when he tries to do that really heavy attack there. There's 2 guys tethered. And now we're trying to stack around him so the healer can get the heals on all of us and we don't die like some did in the first time he did that. So that's really it. If you're taking huge amounts of damage and you stay in one place, you can put Bolstering Darkness down. But other than that, you're really just you're really just relying on Dark Cloak and Mirage to mitigate all the damage for you. Pop a potion if your health drops low. And what's very important that you might not have seen is always keep Leeching Strikes up on a Nightblade tank, because all the light attacks you do will give resources back as long as it's running. Now in this phase, as you can see, there's these little tornadoes on the outside and then a big AoE on the inside, which means you'll just have to run around in between the AoEs counterclockwise and then get back into the middle as soon as he's done with that. We've got 2 people dead here, so I'm just trying to keep the boss busy. Get a res, but I won't be able to get that because the AoE is growing. So we're running around the outside, and then he charges at me, which is something he does after certain mechanics. But if you know it, you can just roll dodge it or block it. And there I put Bolstering Darkness down. You don't need to stay inside of the Bolstering Darkness circle, you get the buffs anyway if you just pass through it, which is pretty good. And there he charges at one of my teammates. The charges are random too, like you can have him taunted, but that doesn't mean he'll charge at you. He'll just choose one of the team members. And they were tethered, so I'm trying to get away. And I was trying to finish him off before anybody dies with heavy attacks there. Charges at me again, but I blocked it. Interrupted that big strike. And that's pretty much how you handle that boss. So as far as Nightblade tanking goes in this, it's just very important to chain in the archers and kill everything. Okie doke. I cut this here because we did a lot of explaining before this phase. It's one of the harder fights in this dungeon that usually takes groups the most. What's really important here as a tank is to keep the boss in the middle. So I put leeching strikes up so all my light attacks give me resources back. And then just try and keep the boss in the middle, which is the most important bit, because when the lasers come and he's not in the middle, you'll have less space to survive them. So there you can see the lasers coming from the back, and it's ending at the front of the room. It's always coming out of the little thing where the black little handle is that the laser comes out of. Almost looks like one of these Star Wars lightsabers thingies. That's the side where you don't want to be, because that's where he comes out of. And then if the boss is in the middle, it'll break the laser, so you can hide on the other side of the wall. You can see that because the laser doesn't have any black thing, it just smashes against the wall. You can also roll dodge it like I did there. I wouldn't advise that though if you're not very experienced in this dungeon, because it kind of requires the perfect timing. And if you're a little early or a little late, it'll kill you anyway. When the boss does this and shoots his AoEs in the air, you've got time to reapply a couple buffs or taunt the spheres that are spawning in the corners of the room. And then it'll be more than one lasers, so you have to figure out which direction to go to. This time it was the left way around from where we were standing. And I'm trying to far taunt these spheres here and roll into the corner to get them a little closer to the boss, but I think they were stunned by the lightning damage, so I couldn't move them. You can't chain anything in here, so Silver Leash is useless. I actually don't really know why I kept Silver Leash on the bar for the rest of this dungeon, because there's nothing in this dungeon left, I think, that you can chain in except for a couple ads. And then watch out for these balls that are rolling all the way through the thing, or you get stunned. And try to live with that laser mechanic. You always need to go in the right direction and hide behind the boss so the laser gets broken. Alright, the sphere came into the middle here, which is nice. And yeah, in terms of Nightblade tanking generally, this is not too hard to survive. There's some damage coming in from the little AoEs that the spheres shoot, but the boss itself doesn't do a lot of damage, so as long as you keep your Dark Cloak and Mirage up, you should be perfectly fine. And most importantly also here, your leeching strikes so that you don't run out of stamina or magicka. You can even get reses and survive these little AoEs for a while. I'm trying to taunt that sphere here, but I can't really move into the corner now or else the boss will follow me. So the DPS are just gonna have to go kill it. Alright, there we go, in the right way around. While you're circling around the boss, if there's ads, just make sure you're not running into them like these little spiders. They're a pain in the ass because they will stun you. And also if the spheres go to the little spiders and they get their little shield, they charge up and all their hits turn into one-shots for DPS, not necessarily for you, but certainly for the DPS. So try and avoid that. And that's pretty much how you do that fight. Just I think I'd say the important thing here, other than keeping Mirage and Dark Cloak going, which is always the case, is pretty much just to keep leeching strikes up most of the time and get some light attacks in there, because all of the running around and roll dodging is gonna drain a bit of your stamina and all. So as long as you get leeching strikes up, you can just always like hit a little light attack with a lightning stuff or ice stuff. It doesn't matter what you use there. The off balance can be nice, the chance for it, but I think we had one Magicka Sorcerer in there anyway with lightning, so I could have easily have swapped to an ice stuff for extra mitigation if I needed it. Yeah, because I mean, don't fool yourself, the damage you do as a tank is abysmal. Like, I put my blockade down and they take like 600 or 500 per tick. It's like nothing. So if you want to be on the safer side, just play nice stuff. It's not too bad. Or even double sword and board really. As long as there's a Magicka DPS in the group or a sorcerer or anybody, should be fine. Okay, so there you see these big spheres. And they're pretty dangerous because they do a lot of ground AoEs, so you don't want to have them in corridors. As these AoEs they put all over the place. You'll see that at a later time as well if I haven't cut it out. Because I think one of them, while you're going through the dungeon, is inside of a corridor, and what you want to do is taunt him and roll dodge past him and run off, so you can drag him into an open space, because if you keep him in the corridor, you'll probably wipe your whole group with it. If they're trying to fight it in the corridor and the whole corridor is full of AoEs. Yeah, I think it's this one. I did that mistake there. Just because I didn't remember too well at the time we were doing it. And now he's putting AoEs all over the place. And then there's these little spiders coming as well. And you can see my teammates dying one by one and asking me to drag that thing out of there because they can't even fight it in here. These little spheres can be interrupted, or else they shoot little lightning AoEs. So just tank the big one, but also keep an eye on the little ones, interrupt them if you have to. And other than that, it's pretty much the same. Try not to get any heavy attacks, block them. Keep your Dark Cloak and Mirage up for the mitigation. If you got both of them up and refresh them regularly, your resistances are pretty much always at cap 33k. And keep your leeching strikes up for the resource return. Get more magic and stamina back when you do light attacks, which you can do. These ad pools are fairly boring, there's nothing too special about them. It's just the little mages that do the AoEs, so tell the DPS to focus them first, pull them in. There's one more standing there in the middle that I'm pulling in here. And then the ice Atro is pretty much what you expect it to be. You want to block the heavy attacks, they really hurt, but other than that, it's just basic tanking. Okay, looks like I'm speeding this up here. Just chain everything in. Don't forget your aspect of Terramorph. Let me actually I forgot what the morph is called. Let me quickly Google that on my cell phone while we're doing this. It's Mass Hysteria. And that's the one that fears a lot of targets. So here I'm telling the healer to attack the boss. So the boss goes aggro on the healer first, and then I'll taunt the Atro. That's usually how you do this fight very well, because the boss's attacks can all easily be blocked and healed out. So you want the healer to attack the boss, so he's got aggro and the boss runs over to them. and then you just take that Ice Atronach and drag it away from them. As you can see here, the Ice Atro really hurts. It's really hard to out-heal the ice damage that he does on you. So you definitely want to stay away from the AoEs and sort of kite him around the room a little bit, while your DPS are interrupting the boss and focusing him down. It's very important that the boss gets interrupted when he waves his staff up in the air like this, because it will kill everyone. They didn't manage to do that here, which is why we decided to wipe. Or I tried resing and wiping. But this is the general idea of the fight. Just stay alive and kite the big Atro around the room while your DPS are interrupting the boss and killing him. Now, this is funny, because the Ice Atro bugged out on us here. So I'm waiting here until the Ice Atro spawns back, but it just doesn't revive. Which made it obviously a lot easier for us, because I didn't have to kite the Atro around the room all the time. So, since the Ice Atro didn't respawn, I just decided to taunt the boss then and debuff him and take care of that interrupting. But I guess it's nice, even though it bugged out, so you can see a bit of the DPS perspective as well, and you know what they're doing there. When it says he's chilling the air like here, try to separate a little bit, because you'll all soon get these circles around you that'll freeze you. And if your circle touches another player, they'll die, and you'll die as well. So here I'm taunting the boss then, since the Atro is gone. Also take care of these big ice whirlwinds on the side there, these little tornado thingies. Because they'll spawn at random locations on the outside of the room, so you don't want to stand too far on the outside. They're chilling the air again, so we gotta try to separate a little bit, so that our circles don't really touch each other. They can overlap as long as they don't touch the player. And then you'll see the interrupt mechanic, hopefully. Yeah, that's that. When he raises the staff up, you need to run and interrupt him, or else he'll do the thing that killed everybody on the first try. But as I said, usually the DPS have to take care of that. They just have to stay a little bit separated for the chilling the air mechanic, and then be close to him really fast for the interrupt mechanic. Like here again. As a tank, usually you just do what I did in the first try and kite the Atro around. Try to stay out of his AoEs because they really hurt, and try to pop your potions, pop your Dark Cloak, and out-heal the ice damage that he does on you. You can do that very well with Potions, Dark Cloak, Mirage. If you're knee-deep in shit, just pop your Bolstering Darkness. And you could also swap out the Silver Leash there for something like Funnel Health or Swallow Soul, or even Refreshing Path to get a bit extra healing. As I said before, no idea why I kept the Silver Leash on the back there, because it's actually, there's nothing really you can chain in after the second boss with the archers. So I could have easily swapped that to Lotus Fan or Refreshing Path or Funnel Health or Swallow Soul, one of these things. Now, these Centurions are what kills people even during the boss fight. It's not the boss itself that does a lot of damage, it's these fucking Centurions. I mean, yeah, the boss does lots of damage, but it's nothing you can't handle. It's only when you have the Centurions and the boss on you that it's getting really rough. You definitely need to block their heavy attacks. Their heavy attacks will either kill you or cut you down to like 10% health or so. So it's very important to keep blocking them. In this phase, the little spheres need to be interrupted, otherwise they'll shoot AoEs. That's why I told the DPS here to focus down the spheres first. And then comes the mouse game, or rat game, whatever you want to call it. What you do here is go into the middle, press square to charge your ultimate, and as soon as it's full, turn straight around and follow the blue line behind you. If everybody does this, this goes very easy. And then when you reach your goal, you just push your ultimate and disable that shock conveyor. Somebody here followed the wrong line, so always turn around and follow the one straight behind you. Or if you're in a puck group where people don't know what they're doing, you can just go back to the middle and do another one. So here comes the interesting part, I guess, the boss fight. You want to tell your DPS and healer to get on the other side of you, sort of, not stand in front of you when the boss spawns. Even if you're behind him, you'll just turn him around, he'll be facing you. And then his left arm has a huge blade on it, which will put a big bleed on you, whereas his right arm, looking at him here, has a big flame burst that will put burn on you. And then he'll shoot these beams out of the middle and damage you with them as well. So what's really important is when that comes, the flames from the middle, or the flames from the right arm, or the bleed, you really gotta pull all of your cards. You gotta have your Dark Cloak up, have Mirage up, put your Bone Shield on, heal yourself, pop potions, whatever is necessary to keep you alive. Now this is where it gets rough. Once one arm is down, a Centurion spawns, and you'll have to taunt the Centurion because he'll kill everything and keep the boss on you as well. And that's really the roughest part of the whole tanking this. Because if you got the blade arm spinning on you, putting bleeds on you, and the Centurion on you, you're like knee deep in shit. So call out to your healer, tell him to put some heals down as soon as the Centurion spawn as well. And then taunt the Centurion and keep the boss on you. And just hope that they can focus it down and heal you through this whole phase, because it's already rough enough as it is. As you can see there, I've got all my mitigations and shields going, and my health still is going down. So after this comes that bit where you just gotta run, take care of these little balls that can stun you, or else you'll end up in the flames. But he'll do it to random sides, either the left way around or the right way around, you can't really tell. It'll be completely random, but it's not too hard. All you need to do is just realize which side it is and then follow it. And then he'll be in the middle again a bit, or like he's always in the middle, but then he'll be damageable a little bit, and then he'll do it again until you've reached about 55, I think it is, 59, 55%, and then the rat and mouse game thing starts again. So this is really not too hard. Once you've got the once you've killed the Centurions, you're fine. You've got time to res as well. You can stop the damage and res in between the flames. Just take your time and make sure you're all alive. And then the cat and mouse thing comes again. So this time there'll be traps in the way, so you gotta be careful. You do have a speed boost on the circle and a self-heal on L1. So I always advise everybody to just take their time here. If you think there might be a trap, just wait it out, because there's no time limit on this if you're not doing hard mode and all. And then just speed boost through the traps. Try not to get caught in the fire or by the blades. If you do, heal yourself with L1. But you can really just take your time in here and take it slow. Doesn't matter, you can spend like an hour in there, I think. Okay, so I'm taunting the boss, telling the people to get on the other side. And then it's pretty much just rinse and repeat, except for this time you'll have spinny blades going around the room, as you can see there behind me. So you want to watch out for them, because they'll also put a bleed on you, and if you get that bleed, it'll be a lot harder to tank the boss and his blade arm and the Centurions and all. Centurions there, so I'm taunting this. The reason I roll dodged over there is to get the Centurion to the side of me, and so that the DPS can reach him better. damage was pretty good in this group, so they got it down quite quickly, which makes it easier on the tank. As long as like if the Centurion stays up for too long, it gets rougher and rougher. Here comes the second one. So I'm trying to keep the taunt up, keep Mirage up, Dark Cloak, even the Bone Surge, shield, everything. And this is what can really wreck you if he starts doing the fire thing before the Centurion dies. So luckily one of the DPS was still alive and could focus him down quite quickly. And then now it's easy. Now once you've gotten this, just don't get execute panic. Just run in the right direction. Don't get caught by the flames. Keep your shields up, your Dark Cloak, your Mirage. And you can take all the time in the world here to res or whatever you want. I think we just chose to focus it down now because in between the fire phases there's not really any healing needed. So the DPS just decided to finish off the Stonekeeper.